The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
At the Team Automotive Group, we make it easy for you to buy here or sell here. Buy here and save on hundreds of certified and pre-owned vehicles. Or sell here while your vehicle is worth more than it ever has been, and we'll pay you top value. Buy here or sell here at the Team Automotive Group.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hello and welcome as we start today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here's hoping all is well with you and yours in your world. Since the last opportunity we had to spend some time with you, roughly some 24 hours ago. We start today's show talking about something that when I first saw the story, there was a little bit of elation involved. But then I started thinking about it and what it says about us. If you are a longtime Louisianian, resident, visitor, you don't have to look very far to appreciate the fact that we are blessed with so much scenic beauty in our state. If you've never experienced sunrise on the bayou, where there's that mist just rising off the water, the cypress knees everywhere, sun just peeking over the horizon, you've lived a deprived life. But nothing ruins the experience more than, say you're out fishing, kayaking, whatever. And then you look down and there's trash in the water, Coca-Cola cans, Shiner bags, discarded trash. Nothing ruins that experience more than watching us destroy our own scenic beauty. Here in Baton Rouge, just drive around. Look on side of the road, look in yards, even on the interstate. Trash everywhere. So in response to this, the Metro Council this week voted to increase dramatically the fines for littering. $50 fine come January 1st will go up 10 times that, $500 per offense. While I'm happy that we are finally putting some measures in place to discourage people from trashing our city, it reminded me of, this is how you treat children. Remember when you were back in elementary school and the teacher got frustrated with trying to keep the classroom environment clean? At some point, they would reach their wits' end and say, all right, no more recess until y'all pick up all these papers, pick up the trash, straighten around your desk, the whole nine. This is how you treat children, not allegedly, adults that should have an appreciation for the scenic beauty that we are blessed with here in Louisiana. It also reminded me of a couple of old adages, one not nearly as old as the other, but the first says, if you dress the part, you feel the part. If you feel the part, you act the part. If you act the part, you become the part. Meaning, dress like a professional, you'll feel like a professional. If you feel like a professional, you will act like a professional. If you act like one, you become one. But the same holds true for many other instances as well. For example, if you trash your city will feel like trash. If they feel like trash, they will act like trash. And of course, if they act like it, they will become it. This is where we've arrived in our city. And another recently coined adage, credited to yours truly, when you fail to govern yourself, you in essence consent to be governed. It should say something to us that we have to resort to increasing a fine tenfold just to keep our city looking the way it should look. In addition, something that many people may not take the time to think about, imagine how much of a hindrance this is to economic development. A Fortune 500 company CEO looking to expand the business comes to visit. And in the drive around town, looking at our universities, our infrastructure, et cetera, they see trash everywhere. As the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, would you reasonably ask your employees to move to a city where the people there, apparently, could care less about how their city looks? Now, one of the things that we are going to have to deal with as a society is our mindset. I will never forget, years ago, took a trip to Flint, Michigan, taking our daughter to school for her freshman semester there. And if you know anything about Flint, Michigan, you know it was devastated when the domestic automobile industry took a downturn. If ever there was a place that trash could be everywhere, yards could be unkept, so on and so forth, it would be Flint. But as I drove around, it struck me, my God, this place is clean. Even buildings that had been abandoned, homes abandoned, grass was cut, edged neatly, clippings picked up and discarded. And it occurred to me at that moment, many of us have pride in where we're from. Not nearly as many have pride in where we are. Meaning, we'll tell people in a heartbeat, oh yeah, I'm a Southern guy, I'm a Southern girl, I'm from the South, I'm from Louisiana, we love our place. And yet we treat it like trash. It is very telling that a government agency has to step in and correct this behavior on behalf of the citizens. You know, aside from the economic development aspect, it's also very inefficient. For example, so far this year, the city parish has picked up some 11,000 bags of trash. I don't have a dollar figure on labor cost, material cost, etc. But wouldn't that money be better spent on something else? I don't know, say roads and bridges or education or whatever. But when you spend the amount of resources that it took to pick up 11,000 bags of garbage, that money could have been used someplace else. We always complain about the inefficiency of government. They don't do anything but waste our tax dollars, Clarence. I don't want to give them any more. Well, I can understand that sentiment. I concur. But at the end of the day, if we want government to be more responsible with our resources, we have a responsibility as well. Let's understand something here, y'all. City parish government didn't create that 11,000 bags of garbage that they picked up. We did. And not only did we cause the problem, we're also going to have to pay for the problem, either for someone to pick up the garbage or a $500 fine when you get caught contributing to the problem. Fact of the matter is, guys and girls, we're supposed to be better than this. And aside from civic pride, aside from caring about where you live and how it looks, there's just the simple economics involved. It's a shame that we have arrived at a point where we are blessed with so much scenic beauty and we care so little about taking care of it that our government has to step in and get involved. Well, at the end of the day, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But you know, you'd be amazed if we collectively decided we're going to take serious a campaign, an effort, an ongoing practice to take better care of what we have. If we do that, the bleed over, which probably can't be measured but is certainly a reality, would be immense. When you start to care more about how your yard looks, your neighborhood looks, your city looks, you start thinking, well, maybe we could do better in some other areas. Education, work ethic, etc., etc. It's not just a litter issue. True, that's the physical manifestation of a problem, but it's also a mindset, guys and girls. And at the end of the day, it's your mind, and if you so decide, you can change it and do better. If not, well, the city parish now has a $500 incentive to try and get you to do so. Remember, when you fail to govern yourself, you consent to be governed. First break of today's show. More Louisiana news, something we've been talking about for years and years. And no, it's not a new bridge in Baton Rouge. We'll talk about that next when we continue today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bud Show. We got some good news this week regarding something we have been talking about for years and years and years in the Baton Rouge metropolitan region. And no, it's not another bridge across the Mississippi River, which we obviously desperately need. It was announced this week that the next step has been taken regarding a passenger rail service between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. It is something that we have, for whatever reason, shied away from for decades now. I understand we Americans, we have a love affair with our automobiles that is unrivaled. The independence, the freedom, the wherewithal to make adjustments on the fly. When you're driving your own car, that's a whole lot easier. Unfortunately, though, we don't have many other options. This could be part of fixing that problem. When I think about the benefits to a city like Baton Rouge, most people would be of the opinion that, well, if you do passenger rail between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, New Orleans is going to be the primary beneficiary because people will take a train from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, but not many folks in New Orleans want to take a train to Baton Rouge. I will leave to you to decide the merit of that argument. But for me, understanding that New Orleans is a tourist mecca, giving individuals an opportunity to take in what we have in Baton Rouge while visiting New Orleans could reap benefits beyond belief. Jump on a train, come down and see Death Valley, come down and tour Southern University, come down and take in Spanish Town Parade or whatever. View the old state capitol, the largest new state capitol in America. Individuals that come from all around the planet to visit New Orleans have heard about things in Baton Rouge. So if you're there, why not? Hop a train, go to Baton Rouge, take in the sights, maybe spend the night, spend some money, and then go back to New Orleans. But aside from that, this would give us an opportunity as a state to start a process that could link us to the entire Gulf Coast. Long-term plans, and God knows I am one of those that's of the opinion I will probably be dead and gone when it happens, but at some point it should. Imagine a rail corridor stretching from Houston all the way to Florida, and what that would do for tourism, what it would do for the movement of non-perishable goods, petrochemical products, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, rail service primarily dictates how fast you get the goods and services you need and how quickly you are able to get them out to where they need to go. Passenger service, the same thing. It's something that for whatever reason we've been reluctant to embrace in Baton Rouge. Hopefully, now that the Canadian Pacific Railway has been given the green light for this new major deal, hopefully we will reshape our thinking. Speaking of reshaping our thinking, in the first segment we talked about litter in East Baton Rouge and how it negatively impacts our city. One of the things that I made a point to mention is the fact that it's a mindset, and that needs to change before things will get better. Well, this week it was announced that the Baton Rouge Police Department is in line to get some $14 million to combat crime. As you well know, crime is pretty bad in Baton Rouge, and it pains me to say that. But what pains me even more, again, speaking of inefficiencies, we have to take $14 million that could have been spent someplace else and use it for crime. Now, at the end of the day, y'all, nothing hurts more than a self-inflicted wound. It's one thing for you to be doing whatever and somebody bumps into you, knocks you over, you skin up your knee, it hurt. It's something else, though, when you are not paying attention to what you're doing and you trip and fall like a doofus and skin up your knee. It hurts even more then because you did it to yourself. This is yet another of the societal issues that we can fix. Again, we often complain about government being so inefficient, not using tax dollars as efficiently as they could. But this is another glaring example where we are forcing government to spend money on something that we are responsible for. I think back to the the old PSA, who was United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but so is a mindset. And the culture of the human experience is such that once you get used to something, you find yourself doing it more and more. That's on the good side and the bad side. And quite frankly, we've reached that point, y'all, in Baton Rouge. Sadly, it's not just Baton Rouge. If you look all across the country, crime, despite what AOC will tell you, despite what Lori Lightfoot will tell you, despite what those on the left will tell you, you see a pattern. And you can say what you will, but if the people in those communities decide, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired, we're going to take it upon ourselves to fix this, you would be amazed at what could happen. But more important, yet again, when we decide to take this bull by the horns, that's 14 million right off the top that we could put into something else in Baton Rouge. When we decide to do better, millions and millions and millions of dollars can be freed up to address other ills in our society. Listen, y'all, this ain't rocket science. This is not rocket science. You don't have to be an Einstein to figure out crime is costing us. It's costing us financially $14 million in this case. It's costing us emotionally. How many grieving families, instead of celebrating the holidays, will be planning a funeral? And it costs us in hard dollars the number of individuals and entities that will not invest in certain areas because they simply don't feel safe. The right to live somewhere free of fear, the right to live somewhere free of crime is something we should all have and something we should all expect. Maybe the problem is expecting, meaning if you expect someone else to fix it, the problem will remain there. Just an observation. Speaking of observations, it's ironic how these things work out sometime. When I saw the story about the attempt to rein in crime, I immediately hearkened back to a story that I ran across maybe an hour before. And say what you will about the partisan nature of the United States of America, but there are some concrete things there that we need to pay more attention to, and it's directly related to this. Now, while I preach to you all the time, personal responsibility and accountability, and the fact that we collectively can fix this, you also have to make sure that the powers that be, the government where you live, is responsive to the needs of the people and appreciate the circumstances. Meaning, well, I'll share it with you. We're heading into our next break. When we come back, there's a pattern here, y'all. And it's not just in Baton Rouge. And as obvious as that pattern is, looking at various states across the nation, there's an existing sub-pattern in there. We'll get this break out of the way. When we come back, what do you think the top 20 cities, as far as crime is concerned, in America have in common? Think about it during the break. The top 20 cities for violent crime in America. What do they have in common? Can't figure it out? I'll tell you when we come back on today's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Sharing holiday cheers starts in the rewarding Mazda CX-30. Find yours during the season of inspiration.
You'll feel inspired this holiday season in a new CX-30 from Team Mazda on AIRLINE.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Fruget Jr., and I am a general dentist at Fruget Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with The Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. If you were with us heading into the last break, I posed a question for you to ponder, waiting for us to come back. Of the top 20 cities in America, the deadliest for crime are concerned, there's a pattern that runs through that listing. It is very telling when you look at states that, quote, fall in certain categories, particularly negative categories. When you look at, quote, who's running the ship, the top 20 cities in our country plagued by violent crime have a very distinct pattern. Let's see how astute you are this morning if you can figure this out. Number one, Detroit. No big surprise there. In that city, the odds of you being a victim of violent crime are 1 in 50. That's scary. The mayor there running the ship, Michael Edward Duggan, Democrat. Number two, Memphis, Tennessee. 1 in 51 chance of being a victim of violent crime. Who's running the ship? Jim Strickland, Democrat. Number three, Birmingham, Alabama. 1 in 52 chance of being a victim of violent crime. Who's running the show? Randall Woodfin, Mayor, Democrat. Number four, Baltimore. Who's running the city? Mayor Jack Young, Democrat. Flint, Michigan, number five. Who's running the show? Mayor Karen Weaver, Democrat. Number six, St. Louis. Mayor Lydia Crewson, Democrat. Number seven, Danville, Illinois. Mayor Ricky Williams, Jr., no party. Number eight, Saginaw, Michigan. Mayor Floyd Cloak, no party affiliation. Number nine, Wilmington, Delaware. Mayor Mike Prziski, Democrat. Followed by Pine Bluff, Arkansas. The mayor there is a Democrat. Kansas City, Missouri. The mayor there, a Democrat. San Bernardino, California. The mayor there, Democrat. Number 14, Alexandria, Louisiana. The mayor, a Democrat. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All those cities, rounding out the top 20, have a Democrat in charge. Now, I will leave to you to decide if the problem is with the mayor, the residents, or some combination of the above. But you've got to ponder a correlation that is irrefutable And that is, certain people vote for certain people. Meaning, Democrats vote for Democrats, Republicans vote for Republicans, by and large. So conventional wisdom says, if there's a Democrat mayor, they were elected primarily by Democrat voters, and, don't forget to add, they are the ones, Democrat voters, primarily affected by crime. I mean, I can't imagine living in a city where I've got a 1 in 50 chance of being a victim of violent crime. 1 in 50? And sadly, y'all, this is something that has been decades in the making. Decade upon decade upon decade in the making. And as a man of color, it's particularly concerning to me because it's the African American community that is most beset by crime and the most that's hurt by crime. If you are one of those that for whatever reason, even with a device in your pocket right now that can give you information on anything you want anywhere in the world, and you still choose to not do your own research, you're a part of the problem. We've heard in this country from the mainstream media, social media, and the like, incessantly, over and over, time after time, day after day, it never ends. We're told how the division between the races, white supremacy, rogue law enforcement, all of these things are the things that we should be concerned about. Well, I, for one, am of the opinion, regardless of how good your society is, you should never stop trying to be better. That's a given. But what is bothersome as a man of color is the outcry, the fake outrage, and all of this that we hear every single time a white person is involved in the death of a black person. Now, let me say for the record, all lives are precious. We should be upset anytime someone loses their life, particularly at the hands of a violent criminal. But you know, I started looking at this list, and it directly correlates to devastation in the African American community. How many of you are aware that over the last couple of years we've seen rioting, looting in our cities when someone white is involved in the death of someone black? But you know, you can take just 4 cities in America, just 4, and the year's not over yet. Take the murder rate in Philadelphia, New York, LA, and Chicago. Just 4 cities. Those 4 cities with populations in many areas that are predominantly black. So far this year, in just those 4 cities, 2,055 people have been murdered. You want to take a guess on what the skin color of the majority of these people happens to be? That's rhetorical. You already know. It's the African American community that's hurt most by homicides and violent crime. But in just 4 states, 2,055 homicides have occurred, the overwhelming majority of which are people of color. So when's the rioting going to start about that? When is the BLM protest march scheduled for that? When are the liberals going to come out and denounce this ungodly number of homicides, primarily on people of color? You know, you've heard me say before, don't listen to what they say, look at what they do. Now, if we can get as upset as we do, well, some of us, when one person of one color, African American, is killed by one person of another color, white person, where is our outrage over this? Just 4 cities, y'all, and the year's not over yet. 2,055 homicides. The overwhelming majority of the victims and the perpetrators were people of color. Of course, now, when you worship at the altar of the mainstream media, number one, they don't tell you this. Number two, they try to get you to think it's somebody else's fault. Number three, more important, you refuse to think for yourself. Listen, y'all, at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. Every single life is important. Doesn't matter your skin color, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your political affiliation, whatever, doesn't matter. All lives are important. But apparently, those in charge of cities all across America won't acknowledge it, won't try to fix it, won't discourage it, unless, of course, it involves people that have different skin colors. Sadly, at the end of the day, of that 2,055 homicides so far this year, primarily affecting people of color, of those numbers, how many do you think were carried out by white supremacists? That's rhetorical. That's rhetorical. You already know. Only question now is, when are you going to demand they do something about it? Final break of today's show. We'll get her done, come back, put that big old pretty bow on this puppy, and wrap up this week's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road, Gonzales.
Tremonti's has meat. Tremonti's has seafood. Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Welcome back to the final segment of today's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. You know, media is something that in this country particularly, and this may be true globally, I don't have statistical data in front of me to quantify it one way or the other, but certainly as a resident of this country and a member of the media, I understand how the media shapes our opinions. It's a bit of a conundrum that we find ourselves at a point in history where we have easily accessible information on just about anything on the planet, and yet we still allow ourselves to have our opinions shaped by other people, particularly the media. If you've paid attention to the media to whatever degree in recent memory, one of the things the mainstream media has beat the drum incessantly on is that conservatives, Republicans, are the party of hate. They hate women, they hate people with different sexual orientations, they hate people of color, they hate people that own guns. They hate, just fill in the blank. Well, ironically, despite this incessant drumbeat from the mainstream media, there's a new poll out that might make you question just how truthful they are. Axios releasing a poll this week that's very telling about us as Americans, the media influence, and what the truth actually is. This new poll found out that a huge number more of Democrats, quote, despise Republicans than vice versa. This poll revealed that when it comes to the question, would you date someone who is of a different political affiliation? Meaning, if you're a Democrat, would you date a guy that's a Republican? Or if you're a Republican, would you date a girl that's a Democrat? According to this poll, 71% of Democrats said, oh no, I'm not going to date a guy if he's conservative. 71%. Only 31% of Republicans said the same thing. When it comes to being friends with someone that does not share your political philosophy, if you're a Democrat, would you be friends with a Republican? If you're a Republican, would you be friends with a Democrat? 37% of Democrats said, nah, I wouldn't even be friends with them if they're a Republican. Only 5% of Republicans said the same. When it comes to working for someone who does not share your political philosophy, 30% of Democrats say, oh no, I'm not working for a company if the boss doesn't vote the way I do. Only 7% of Republicans said the same. Now, I will leave to you to decide what side of that fence you fall on. My point in bringing this up is that the next time the media tries to shove down your throat who hates whom in America, maybe you'll think about this. And more important, maybe you will also take the time to entertain the question, if they will lie to me about this, what else will they lie to me about? You know, at the end of the day, the media does not know who you are. They simply lump you into a certain category. Black, white, straight, gay, conservative, liberal, whatever. They're experts, as you well know, at doing that. But then they take what they perceive and try to spin it when they sell it to you. If you ask most liberals, who's the party that hates the other the most in America? Automatically, oh, it's conservatives. I mean, look at what I heard on CNN. Look at what I heard on MSLSD. Look at what I heard on CBS. If you go by what they tell you, well, you, my friend, will be just another ill-informed, misguided, gullible American. Would you date someone that's not from your party? 71% of Democrats said nope. Only 31% of Republicans said no. Would you be friends with someone who's of the opposite party? 37% of Democrats, Only 5% of conservatives. Would you work for someone who doesn't vote the way you vote? 30% of Democrats said no thank you. Only 7% of Republicans said the same. And yet, the media, the great people that they are, will tell you it's the exact opposite. Funny how that works, isn't it? Finally, as if the Democrats didn't already have enough to worry about, speaking of polls, there is an undercurrent that has been building in this country among Latinos. Scary numbers for Democrats, because the most recent poll reveals Latinos in this country are now evenly split among their support for the two major parties. It is, as a person of color, something that's gratifying to see, but it's also, as a person of color, somewhat disheartening that African Americans have not evolved politically, maturation-wise, to this level. See, Latinos understand. Many of them immigrated here from other countries where they dealt with what we are attempting to squash in this country: bad government policy. And Latinos now understand and appreciate, I've got a right to take part in the process, and I'm going to support the people that are doing the most for my interest, not because of skin color or because of what letter is designated after their name on the ballot. When you get the opportunity, my fellow citizens of color, look up what Malcolm X said about political maturity. I'll paraphrase it for you. Malcolm pointed out that our leaders in the black community only encourage us to get registered and vote. They never talk to us about becoming politically mature. Of course, now, many are of the opinion they don't want you to be politically mature. They want you to do what we say you should do. Listen, y'all can get upset with me if you want. I'm old, I don't care. Comes with the territory. But the smartest thing black folk in this country could do on the next election would be for half of you to vote Republican. Now, I know your head just exploded, so hopefully you had the duct tape wrapped around and you still have all the pieces and you can hear me out. If half of black America in the next election voted Republican, the Democrats would come to you on their knees, begging, what do we need to do to get your vote back? At the same time, the Republicans would then come to you asking, what do we need to do to keep your vote? Now, all of a sudden, you ask what you will and get what you want because you're not being taken for granted any longer. And you know, at the end of the day, common sense still prevails. People of color in this country, the African American community, we've voted for one party, one way, for decades upon decades upon decades. And what do we have to show for it? I'll give you time to think, because you're going to need it. The most incarcerated, the least educated, the least employed, the most aborted, the fewest fathers in households, the most children raised in single-parent households. And yet, you're still voting the way you vote? Huh. I guess there's something to be said about being a glutton for punishment. Unfortunately, it's not going to be long, y'all. Latinos are going to be the second largest group in this country. Just something to ponder. Time's up, y'all, and I gotta go. But this day, maybe more so than any other, I give it to you. You know what? You're right. America, we're not perfect. But for this old boy's money, it's the best there is. And God knows there is no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you got the memo. You realize he loves you. And I hope you know that I do too. Then again, it really doesn't matter because there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. Take care of yourselves. Let's take care of each other. We'll see you next week. God bless.